Go eat.
Go eat. Oh.
Go eat.
Oh, go eat. Okay. Let me just get settled.
Yes, our hostess is taking her time. That's okay.
Can you give me some intro music? Someone?
Always.
What's gonna make me cry this week?
Hello, and welcome to My Top Everything. I've been voted as your host. I'm Marian.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Mara.
And we're three childhood friends who love to bicker, but our bickering has made other people extremely uncomfortable at times. So we thought we'd open our competitive bickering up to the general public and find an audience who will finally appreciate us. Each episode, we'll discuss our top lists on a certain topic, and we can really fight about anything. That's our superpower, debating each other endlessly about unimportant things. And this week's topic is my top 3 irrational fears. So, who wants to start us off?
Who's cried most recently? I cried on Christmas Day.
Oh, I've cried since then.
Yeah, Kara.
Okay.
That's a long time ago. That was like, what was that? Like 10 days ago? You haven't cried in 10 days? I don't know if I don't know since a teenager that I've not cried in 10 days.
I think crying is relatively rare for me. It's when it happens, though, it's big.
Yeah. Mine, I've cried in the last 3 days, probably. Today is...
I think you cried when we did our New Year's Eve reflections. And I haven't cried since then. So
Perfect.
I would say you get to go first.
Okay, so I actually had to Google what is considered an irrational fear. And then things were coming up like arachnophobia and things like that of that nature, like bugs. And there's just no way that is irrational. So.
Well, I mean,
I think
it is, though.
Why?
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, because 99% of bugs that you're going to encounter cannot hurt you, and they're smaller than you, and you have all of the control. Yeah, raise your hand. You can talk.
Yeah, I am raising my Thank you. You lived in Australia, first of all, so you should understand. And also, there are black widows in Minnesota where Mara lives, so there is a rationality behind the fear of this thing.
Yeah. How many black widows have you seen, Mara?
3.
But
have you had one in your car? I believe I'm the only person here who's had one in their car.
Anyway,
and
so
I did not kill that black widow.
None of mine are bug related.
Well, good.
Thank God.
So I'll just start with.
Wait. So how did people define? Can you go through what's the definition of an irrational fear?
I guess I didn't see a definition, but when I was just Googling to see because things that I think are rational, other people might completely find irrational to be afraid about. And so I was like, I should just Google to see what the majority of people think. And so I didn't find a definition, but just a bunch of basically eniophobia came up on a list. There's one, fear of the navel, like the belly button.
I found some weird ones when I was Google searching.
You guys had to Google search your top 3 irrational fears?
No, but I found it interesting. Once I put my top 3 together, 1, I decided to look up if there was a name for it, and then 2, I got sucked into a small wormhole where I just kind of kept looking at different phobias, and I was like, why is that a fear that somebody has? I think you can pick apart any fear, for the record.
I could only think of 2 off the top of my head. So yes, I did do some Googling, but none of the ones I came across on Google are on this list.
All right.
Okay, I'll just get into it. So as Kara said, I live in Minneapolis and I work as a chemist. And so I work with giant glassware that can be up to 10 liters big. And we have plenty of like carts in order to like lug these things around the lab. And, but A, there's usually never a cart when I want there to be one. And B, I'm just kind of faster. So I'll pick it up and move it to where I want it to be. And it's like, I have to, like my hands sometimes barely fit around it. Like my hands will overlap, but I'm like hugging it to myself to carry it. Or like I'm a baby and like one hand is underneath and the other hand is on the top of it. So anyway, I'm walking along carrying this giant full 10-liter volumetric flask, and one of two things happens. One, the top, like where my toes are, part of my foot, like trips on the ground. Like the ground looks flat, but I swear there are parts of the ground that are uneven, and it like only because I will trip over the same spot at work, and so I avoid it if I'm holding things in my hand. But the top of my foot catches the ground and I start falling forward and I can't catch myself, and the volumetric flask breaks on the ground and I fall on top of it and I gut myself. Or the second thing that happens is that I'm walking along and it falls out of my hand for some reason, like say I didn't wipe my hands off enough and they're still wet, and so my gloved hands, and it just like slips out of it. And then because it fell and I like stop so I don't keep walking, but I like stop too suddenly and then I trip myself and then I fall on top of this broken glassware and I gut myself.
Damn.
So you're saying that one of your top 3 most irrational fears that you could think of was that you might trip and break a glass with really important chemicals in it. And that's,
no, it's not even important chemicals. It's the fact herself. That it's just like, I'm going to impale myself. There it is.
Yeah, with very large shards of glass. I feel like that's
that seems like a totally normal.
That's what I'm saying.
To be
this
worried
was
of
really hard.
Marion's about to pick the shit out of all 3.
I can think of a few irrational fears for you. But all right, okay, so
can we go back to the part where Mara compared herself to a baby when she was carrying a glass? I'm really struggling with the no interruption thing because I was like, hang on a second.
No, you should definitely interrupt for things like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. To make fun of someone. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yes.
100%. Baby.
I don't think that's irrational, Mara. I think that's something that like something you've seen the glass break because you throw the glass in there all the time, you know, so you know how it shatters.
And like, do they have a safety video where they warn you about these types of things? Like, make sure your hands are dry, make sure you're aware of your surroundings when you're carrying big glass things.
Maybe
like
there's safety
it just seems
training.
Like that's not. I'm gonna say boo. This is
no.
This doesn't even qualify
Absolutely not.
As an irrational fear. This is a totally normal thing.
I will also point out that you have OCD and have gone through therapy to try to like work through some of those thoughts, and those of us that have not still struggle every day.
None of my big OCD, for example, I have something very similar to this that is like a common OCD irrational fear that like, right, with a knife that I'm going to lose control and just start stabbing myself, or like I'll trip and fall and somehow the knife will just, or I'll stab myself or I'll stab somebody else. But like, I didn't put that one on there. But like, does it stop you from picking up the glass? That's an irrational fear.
No, but the scenario in which I'm describing, I've literally never heard of it happening to anyone in my vicinity or career. And it and I've also...
I just imagined you falling on the glass and like what you're saying, like gutted like a fish almost, like you just writhing around on the...
Yeah, what's a kidney? It's got some glass shards in it, you know? But... so I've never... Also, like, I don't know. Maybe one day. But also I feel like it might be one of those things where if I think about it too much, I'll manifest it happening.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll go next.
Thank you.
I should go next because I've definitely cried before you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, crybaby, go ahead.
Kara already started, though.
Oh, well. Marion, why don't you go next?
Well, yeah, I don't want to confuse our listeners any more confused they are, thinking they were getting a podcast about irrational fears, and it's just 5 minutes of Mara talking about cutting herself with glass.
A very rational fear in today's society.
This number 3 fear for me is sponsored by Mara and Linda.
No, that's on my list.
Too bad.
Should have been your number 3.
Should have been your number 3. It's demons in the mirrors.
What?
I didn't ever think about this. And I am in therapy for it now. When in was it 2018? In 2018,
yes,
Mara and our friend Jen and I went on a trip to Maine, and we ended up going to what was a very nice man's house, but we got there at like 11:30 at night, and it was very creepy, and he wasn't answering his door, and it kind of seemed like a murder house, because he had a bunch of artists within the community come and like decorate his whole house. It was like more of a community spot than his home, and it's art from people on this one island in Maine, so it was pretty out there. And he had this piano that could play by itself. And he decided to show us that during his tour at 11:30 p.m. And also his bedroom was up this really dark hallway to the attic where you couldn't see the end of it. And he tried to show us his automatic lights that he was really proud of installing. But they like got stuck. So they were just flashing like a strobe light in this hallway for like 2 minutes. It was all very scary. When we got into the room that Mara and I were going to sleep in, we decided to make Jen sleep alone in the creepy room with all the writing on the yellow wallpaper. When we got into our room. Alone. Oh, was that you?
Yeah, I took one for the team.
You went to
It was me.
Well, see, the thing is you didn't really take one for the team because you said, fuck all of you for putting me in this room with the creepy writing on the walls. I'm going to make sure you don't sleep tonight, because you were like, oh, there's that big mirror on the wall that was facing the bed. And you said, Linda told me that demons come out of the mirror at night and you shouldn't look at them. And so you should probably cover that. So we covered it with a blanket. I know. As if we weren't creeped out enough. Like literally when we pulled up to this place, the exterior of it was scary enough. Now Jen refused to get out of the car at first. She was like, no. And it didn't help that when we discovered where the old 72-year-old man was, he was in his kitchen with all the lights off watching this eerie TV up in the corner. Like the TV wasn't in a normal spot. It was like an old square TV, and it was up in like the upper right corner of his kitchen, and he was sitting and he was eating like mush from a bowl. Turns out he was vegan, but it was really creepy and weird. And so for us to already be creeped out as we were, and then Mara to be like the demons.
She was just trying to torture you. That was intentional. It was all intentional. How can I get these bitches more?
Yeah, I'm positive it was a combination of me being petty as fuck.
It was vindictive. It was very vindictive.
And just letting my first thoughts that come to mind shoot out of me. But
so anyway, since then, I'm what my therapist calls avoidant. I do not at night. I will not look into a mirror when I go to wash my hands in this bathroom. Like if I need to pee at night, I'll pee. And when I need to wash my hands, I'll literally put my hands under the sink and go like this and make sure that I can't see into the mirror. And that's all because of Mara. So if you want to pay me like $10 a month for my therapy bills, we haven't even got it to that because it is so bad. Like it's one of the things I avoid the most, that it's we have to work. There's a hierarchy in OCD of what you work up to. And that one's so high on my list that we haven't even gotten to it yet, because I absolutely refuse to look in the mirror because of the demons that I might see in the background or whatever.
If you stare at it too long.
Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that your flight got canceled recently and you weren't able to stay with me at my new place, because there's like no way to avoid mirrors here at night. And so
do you have a lot of mirrors in your bedroom?
No, there's just my one bedroom, like
just the giant one that faces your bed.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that?
The hallway is floor to ceiling. And then your bathroom is also.
How is it an irrational fear for you if you just...
No, I can't see myself in the mirror when I'm on my bed. So like I can't see my face. And so
that's the same with me. That's the same with me. That's why I dodge the mirror in the sink, because some unspoken rule here is that if you can't see your own reflection, then there's not going to be anything in the mirror. Like it's it's a two-way system.
This is
obviously.
Yeah. No, this made my list, and I was going to preface it with, this one's not an irrational fear. So once again,
I'll throw a bonus into the ring and say that I saw what's the movie? The Paranormal Activity? No. What's the one where the chick...
The Paranormal Activity.
You should consult the Google.
What's the one where the chick spins her head around and like crawls down the... I saw The Exorcist when I was in like 6th grade, and I had the biggest... I still have the biggest fear of demons ever. And I've never researched, I've never done anything since then. It was just that one movie, and now I refuse to watch anything spooky.
Yeah.
I won't go anywhere near. Now I'm going to have a fear of mirrors.
You will never go anywhere near another 9-year-old girl. If you happen to birth a 9-year-old girl, she'll have to go away to boarding school that year.
Yep. That's exactly. She'll go after you.
To help you.
Yeah. Like you're going to go
I haven't seen The Exorcist, so that's not an issue of mine.
Okay.
So I'm fine. She just won't be able to look at any mirrors for year 9.
So my number 3 fear is a cut on the eyeball, specifically a paper cut, but it has now expanded to be anything. So knife, leaf, icicle, whatever it could be. It's a big one.
Yeah, that it is unsettling.
Yeah.
Have you ever I've had a mosquito try to suck on my eyeball. Yeah.
What?
And I know it was my eyeball because the sensation was not anything I'd ever felt before.
Where was this?
I don't remember. But it landed, and it went for the eyeball. It did not go for the skin.
How did you not react? Like, if anything comes near my eye, I'm instantly blinking.
No,
how did it landed and had time to settle in and then was sucking on your blood and you were like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you could see it.
No. Well, this all happened very quickly. But then because it went for my eyeball, it like hurt after. It like stung after, Like,
yeah.
But it's
anything
very
foreign.
Quick.
Yeah,
it was very quick.
It must have been Australia. I'm guessing Australia.
I don't think there were mosquitoes. I don't remember. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't remember mosquitoes. And anyway, that is a good irrational fear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mara, what's your number 2?
Thank you for asking, Kara. I'm driving along in my little car, vroom vroom, and a plastic bag, or any sort of plastic bag, any sort of plastic.
Oh, no.
It's just hanging out in the middle of the road, floating. Do you ever feel like a plastic? It's just floating along. And
that was a good attempt, though.
There's only, I have to drive over it, and I can't like swerve around it.
So sorry, this fear is not about a plastic bag getting caught up in like your wheel well. This is like you're saying some type of metaphor about you being a plastic bag in a car.
No. Mara's trying to. Mara heard the word plastic bag, and then her brain went to the song and couldn't remember the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then got distracted by that. But her real fear is the plastic bag getting caught up in the car and, like, I'm assuming blowing up the car.
Yeah, and then my car goes to a sudden stop, and then I flip.
What?
Because of the plastic bag.
Yeah. I'm upside down on the road.
Interesting that you're not scared of like
falling fears, like
yeah.
So
it's
when
funny
you
that
see,
you're not.
you go, Kara.
No, you go.
No, you.
No, you go.
No. You go.
No, you go.
No, I'll go.
I was just gonna say, God, I don't even fucking remember what I was gonna say. Kara, you go.
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting that you don't have like a fear. I mean, you might, but like a fear of black ice or something because you've had situations where you've spun out and almost flipped. But that's not your fear. It's a plastic bag that miraculously flips your car somehow, like like a Target bag, right? Not like a
Target bag, a trash bag. And Kara, you are right. That is a good point. I have done a 720 on the highway before during bad weather.
Yeah.
But that's happened to me.
Yeah. Have you ever encountered a plastic bag coming at you in the car, and what did you do?
I have, and I kind of, my whole, like, my butt hole tenses up, like a whole tense.
Your butthole, everybody's butthole clenches at some point, you know?
Yeah, I'm just describing
it's a familiar feeling.
I've never had my butthole clench.
You've never
disagree with that.
No, I'm the least uptight person I know.
Is that why you poo your pants all the time? Because it never clenches up?
Loose butthole.
Are you just going to mention me pooping my pants every episode? Is that your big plan here?
That's our secret goal.
It's like the one thing you've got on me. I poop my pants.
Damn. No.
Huh?
Yeah.
She wanted to clap.
Point to me. Anyway.
Yeah, so...
All right. So wait, what happened when you drive up? What happens when you drive up on a plastic bag?
Like I tense up and I like hold my breath, and then I really want to close my eyes because I don't want to watch it happen, but I'm like driving. So I can't do that. And then I always look for it in the back, like with my mirrors. I'm like, did you exit my car? So clocked it.
I do relate to this one in a way because like I don't know why it just seems like something that would get caught up in either the wheels or the engine and just like trip things up, even though it's a plastic bag and it'd probably be ripped up right away or like whatever. But it doesn't. Yeah. I do agree when it comes out from underneath your car. I'm always like, how did it not? It never seems damaged. The bag on the road never seems damaged, and I think that you could really read into that saying. That should be like a saying, a plastic bag on the road is never damaged.
Maybe that means that cars don't damage plastic bags and therefore you're safe.
No, I think like you could no, it's
I feel like that's
a big,
reasonable
deeper meaning of life. No, it's like a big, deep meaning of life.
It means that
and what's the meaning?
If you're like Katy Perry and you feel like a plastic bag
floating through
get on the road, you can't be damaged in the fast lane or something. I think this makes sense.
You reached.
Anyway, my number 2 is that I'll accidentally swallow something small and round if I'm around something. Like if I'm holding something small and round, like if someone gives me a gobstopper, I'm very worried that I'm going to put it in my mouth and swallow it and like whole, or like, I don't know, like pinballs, like little, anything small, silver bullets, which we all have lying around.
Yeah, who's giving you gobstoppers also? Like,
whoa.
I mean, you can buy gobstoppers.
Yeah, but somebody gifted you. In this scenario, someone's gifting you gobstoppers at 30.
Or like for Jen's... What'd you say?
Somebody gave me gobstoppers for Halloween in 2022.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you trick-or-treating or?
At work.
That's
I think you can encounter small round balls more than you think you would. Our producer Grayson just gave me the thumbs up for that one. I like what for our friend Jen's 30th birthday, we got a little roulette set and there were these small metal balls in it. And I was, holding them when I unwrapped them. I felt like, oh my God, what if I accidentally swallow these? Or like mints not mince because they're not round. It has to be really, really round for it to be scary. I don't know
What's
why.
your
'cause,
fear? What's your fear of it? Like, so
that
say
I'm
you
going to
swallow
put
the
it in
ball.
my mouth, whether it's edible or not. I'm going to put it in my mouth or accidentally somehow get it in my mouth, and I'm going to accidentally swallow it, and either it's going to get stuck there, I'm going to choke on it, it's going to hurt, I'm going to die, I'm going to have something going through my intestines that shouldn't, just like that I'm going to forget all human instinct and just fucking go to town on these little BB pellets or whatever, you know?
Well, I can say that your colon is pretty large and you're probably good. I once choked on a small corner of a tortilla chip, and it was a very small triangle. I was like 13. It was at Nacho Mama's in downtown Des Moines. I was with my mom and my uncle, and this triangle of tortilla chip got stuck perpendicular to my throat, so it was like blocking my airway. I could feel all three corners poking into my fucking throat, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't say anything, and I like ran to the water, and I was like, right, if I dissolve it, that'll get rid of it, right? But obviously it's not, you can't swallow because the chip is stuck. It was very scary. So I get the whole like shit being stuck.
So painful.
It was very painful. I'm pretty sure I scarred my throat. It was very unfair.
That's probably what caused your Crohn's. Is that really short?
That very stressful event.
Your tortilla chip probably started. Yeah.
Yeah, my body was like, let's not do any more food. Thanks.
I mean, the reason that lifesavers were made is because this mother was worried that her child was going to choke on like candy. And so she created a candy that had a hole in it. So even if the kid was choking, they'd still be able to breathe.
That's so cool.
So
and that's why it's called a lifesaver?
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then also like whatever those little like circular batteries are, like kids will swallow those all the time and die all the time. So
yeah,
why
but see, that doesn't bother me as much because it's not round. It's flat. It's flat like a mint.
Yeah, it is flat. I don't know how the death happens, but
also with the lifesaver, couldn't you swallow it whole and it gets stuck vertically in the kid's pipe, and then there's no hole?
But it's not going to surround it. Like if it was stuck vertically in a hole, like you still have like the hole it's stuck in is round, and so it wouldn't be taking up all of the space. So,
I mean, I think your esophagus can mold to something though. So,
damn. Okay. Well, my counter argument to my first argument is that one hole is better than no holes.
Title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue on. Kara, what's your number 2 greatest fear? Irrational fear, sorry. Different things.
Again, I don't know if this is going to be irrational. We'll see if Marion boos me. But I have always had a fear of like wide open spaces. Like if you have a desert and there's no hills or anything like that, and you just see like wide open expanse and there's no mountain in the distance or anything, it like gives me the heebie-jeebies. Or the open ocean, like I refuse, I won't go on a cruise. I want to be able to see land or something. That is like a very big thing for me. And then recently, all three of us saw that TikTok video where they have, it's called thalassophobia.
Sorry, did you say TikTok video?
TikTok video. Did I say TikTok video?
We'll replay it back. Yeah, Grayson should make a little remix that gets played right now where it's like, and then it's just you saying it over and over again in like a really fun soundbitey way.
All three of us saw that TikTok video where they have, it's called TikTok video.
TikTok video.
All right, enter here.
We got the we got the thumbs up. Oh, I said the thumbs up. Fuck. Now I'm gonna be it. We got the thumbs up. We got the
fun.
So apparently there's this thing called thalassophobia, and it's the fear of open ocean. And you see photos of people's little tiny legs, and then you have like at the very top, and then at the very bottom of the photo, it's just endless darkening water, or you have like a shark coming out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like that is fucking terrifying. And I thought when I saw this video, I was like, oh, that's pretty normal that you'd be scared of this, right? Like this is a pretty normal human reaction. No, Marion's like, that sounds great. I'd love to fucking do that. And that's when I knew that was a fear.
Well, what I'll say is, well, first of all, fun fact, thalassophobia, which I think I said when we talked about this, it comes from the Greek thalassus, which is sea. But it's like, okay, when I was diving offshore in the Great Barrier Reef and we had to swim through open ocean to get to the coral towers, terrifying, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so I think in some ways, obviously it's not irrational, but if you get scared looking at a photo or something of it, I think that's...
Yeah, it like sets my anxiety. Like my throat closes, my heart starts pounding. Like it sets off like a physical reaction in my body. Like I can't.
Whereas for me, yeah, I love those. Like my favorite thing to watch at night is like deep sea, deep ocean exploratory documentaries. Like there's one on the Mariana Trench that is just great. But
What's
yeah,
it
would be
called?
very creepy. I think that's just in a deep water series. If you look up like deep water documentary, Mariana Trench.
So then what do you think of the North Shore? Because when you look out onto Lake Superior, if you look just right, or you get parts that you can't see land across the way, like it looks like an open ocean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine standing on land looking out into the abyss. Yeah.
Okay.
But if I was to take a little boat and I was to go out into the middle of Lake Superior where you couldn't see anything, I think I would have a panic attack and die.
Or like, what about when on an airplane and you look out and all you can see is water?
I don't remember having, I'm sure I have, I've been on many like transatlantic flights, but I don't think that those have happened during the daytime, or I chose not to look because I don't remember that being a thing. I recently, as I age, I'm becoming more aware of my mortality thanks to you people. And so I have started, like, every time I get into a plane, I'm like, wow, this is just a flying metal tube in the air and we're just going to be 30,000 feet in the air. And if you drop, you're dead. So I've started having those thoughts, which are really fun. But when I was 20 flying across the ocean, I was like, woohoo, I'm 20, you know?
I know. Yes. Yeah. I miss those days where the thought of the metal tube plumbing never really, I never thought like, oh, what if that happened right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. So death is another one. Love my fears.
Well, that's not an irrational fear.
No.
That's fair.
Okay. Mara, did you have enough time to think of a number one?
I wrote down 4, thankfully enough. The demon one was supposed to be my number 1. So my new number 1 is balloons. I hate them. I hate almost every balloon.
What?
They put me on edge. When I am in the same room as a balloon, they put me on edge. When is that going to pop? What's going to make it pop? And why does it seemingly pop when it looks like nothing's happening to the balloon? And then they're always moving unless they're tied down. But like if they're just free falling on the ground, if they're free range balloon.
A free range balloon.
A free range balloon.
Just kind of, so when it rocks back and forth a little bit on the ground?
No, instant, straight to jail. And they always gravitate. I feel like
are you going to jail because you're like murdering somebody, or is the balloon going to jail?
The balloon is going straight to jail.
Oh, okay.
The balloon's got to go. It's not me. I'm not the problem. What are your questions?
Well, my number 1 question is, we have had last year our group of high school friends.
At her birthday party.
Well, hang on. Last year at our 30th birthday parties, we all traveled to go see each other across the country for our 30th birthdays. And at each motherfucking party, we had a ton of balloons because Jen was involved in
I-
all of those parties. And you were never weird about it.
You never said shit about those balloons.
Yeah.
I did in DC.
You did in DC, but that was like trip number 8 at that point, you know?
What did you say in DC?
Logan was being, our friend Logan was trying to like freak Mara out, and I think it got to her, to be fair.
And they popped with more balloons in DC popped than any of the other events. Because the other events, when they popped, it's because
got her hand raised. She wants to argue. I assume you're going to reference Mara's own birthday, or what?
I didn't pop any of those balloons to clean them up. During cleanup process, you didn't see me pop a frickin' balloon. Not gonna catch me.
I was going to say that in DC, there were like 200 balloons. So if you think about the ratio, it's probably about the same.
I think like I'm just imagining Mara going through the first 7 parties, like just trying to hide the shamefulness of being afraid of the balloons. And then like just watching me getting buried in balloons in DC and just cracking and being like, no, the worst.
No.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not gonna. Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to be like? Hey, thanks for bringing decorations to my birthday party. Please don't use them.
Please remove these immediately.
What is your fear? Is it just the popping noise, the random popping? Like you don't know when it's going to happen?
When it's going to happen, how's it going to happen?
Yes.
Okay.
What's going to set it off?
Apparently, according to Mara, you can't keep track of them because they move so much.
Yes.
Like fucking cows are just wandering about.
It's true. And then I like lose track of one, and then I always feels like that's the one that's popping. So.
I love the idea of you keeping tabs like number 47. Where you at?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's a good one. I'm glad I have
such a strong urge to one day like put little ones all around your bed so that way when you wake up and you step down you just start stepping
cry. I wake up and cry.
How do you feel about bubble wrap?
I'm bubble wrap sturdy. Bubble wrap I'll put on the ground and I'll jump up and down on it in order to get the satisfaction of that noise.
How do you feel about gun ranges? Is it the loud noise?
No. So I've been to one gun range with my dad and I didn't mind it, but also like there was somebody across the way also shooting, but there were like hill barriers and so it kind of dampened the sound a little bit, but it is kind of startling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm imagining you going, like being invited to someone's kid's like 5-year-old party and all the balloons being around and you just sitting there like with a drink in your hand, shaking, like looking at like which one's gonna go first.
Oh, it might be me. I'll be leaving.
You just drop your kid off and you're like, have fun. Mom's gotta go.
Bye, Kara.
See ya. All right.
Well, that was a very good number 1 irrational fear.
Thank you.
Marian,
that I didn't know you had, and I'm a bit suspicious of. Anyway, I know you've all been wondering what my number 1 irrational fear could be. I'm sure none of you are going to guess this one, but I do believe my number 1 irrational fear is that I'm going to die at 36 because I used to say I thought that would be a good age to die. And now I've jinxed myself. And even saying it right now on this podcast is kind of a big deal for me because I contemplated not putting this in because I didn't want to have record. And because then if I do die at 36, this is like in the ether, in the public, you know, where anybody could be like, oh, remember that chick who said she was worried about dying at 36 and then she did die at 36. Yeah. So the very short version of this.
You don't think it's more likely to happen because you've put it out there, right?
Oh, I do.
You do. Okay.
Yes. That's why I was thinking of not. Because I was like, oh, I'm really like just asking the universe to make this happen at this point.
Damn.
But yeah, the quick story behind this, that Mara and Kara, and probably Grayson at this point, know. I don't know, Grayson, do you know this? I'm going to pretend like Grayson doesn't know it and tell it to him.
Yeah. Yeah, there you
Which
go.
is when I was about 12, I started thinking more about like death and when people die. And I was thinking about how much it would suck to watch the people around me die. And I very logically thought, well, what's an age in your life where you could live as much life as possible, but die before everyone else you care about, your parents, like your siblings, possibly your grandparents, like anybody, like your friends, children. When would be a good time to live, the maximum amount you could while still safely dying before anyone else you cared about? And I very quickly reached the conclusion that number was 36, because you could probably start a family and get in some good quality years with your children, but like the likelihood of them dying is pretty low. And then your parents could probably most likely still be alive, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what? I'm actually pretty proud of that number, because there's a lot of research about how from 20 to 35 is your most. This is also why I get a little worried about this, because 20 to 35 or 18 to 35 is when you're most likely to die young. And then from about 35 to 60, you have your chances. I think it's around that. I'm kind of making this up from memory, but I read that basically from like 36 to a certain number, like 60, your chances of living through all of those years like raises astronomically. And then, yeah. And then it goes down from there as you get old and die of, old person problems.
Yeah.
And so I also feel like that's odd that I picked 36, because now if I get to 36, I think I'm going to feel like a little safe, like, oh, I'm outside the range. And wouldn't it be even more ironic to die right after you got out of that range,
It'd be a good laugh at your funeral for sure.
Yes, I mean, I would hope that it would be taken lightheartedly. Yeah, I definitely my most irrational fear. I think 36. I'm hoping that I can work it out before that. And also, like, for a long time, I used to count down, like, oh, I have this many years left. I have this many years left. So yeah, it's kind of weird to be like in my 30s now and know like, oh, it's only 6 years. Like, that's not a lot of time at all, like for this projected date. And then I worry, secondly, that I'll get through 36, get to celebrate my 37th birthday, and then die right after that, because that would also be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes. If you made it. But I think that I would still be happy with that. I think I'd be happier with that scenario than dying. Like if I got to 37 and died almost immediately, I'd be okay. I'd be more okay with that.
But then you had to suffer the anxiety of your whole 36th year, Like the kinder thing to do would be, earlier.
I don't know, because I think there would be a certain amount of relief and excitement and like accomplishment after getting to 36, and you would get to feel that rush and wave. I mean, I don't really think I'm going to feel safe until I'm 40. I think I'll feel a little safer then,
Yeah.
But I think there would be this great release at 37 that of like, whew, I made it. Now if I die at 37, at least it's like, nobody's going to say, oh, she said she was going to die at 36. She died at 37. Like, it's not as good of a, it's no longer that funny.
No one can pull this clip up and play it back.
Yeah.
At your funeral, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the good thing
actually,
about
you should pull this clip up if I die after 36, because it will be comforting. You all know that I was satisfied with that end.
Satisfied.
So, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, your 37th is going to be a rager. And
yes.
And also the fact that you have the anxiety, depression stuff anxiety, OCD stuff you've done a lot of medical tests and your body is in tip-top shape. And I think that should like give you some calm and some peace as you
We'll
go
see.
forward. No?
We'll see.
It
I
doesn't
mean,
give
it
you
doesn't
calm
have to be
now?
my body that gives out.
Oh, I know. I'm
I could
just
be
eliminating
on the
one.
highway driving and a fucking plastic bag comes at me, and then that's the fucking end.
Yeah, you're just walking at work with a glass of water. You fall, and your intestines are just on the ground.
Or you're on a
after
small
that.
boat in the middle of the ocean and nothing
Someone
happens.
gives me some
die.
gobstoppers, and this is just the end.
Yeah, and you eat them alone. Wow.
Don't eat them alone. You can do self what do you call it? Heimlich maneuver.
Yeah. I have currently started living alone, and there are certain things I view in a different light now that I'm in my place of residence alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
like
will
getting
I
in the
chill?
shower.
When?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Getting in the shower. You gotta, who's in there? It's
Or
not-
slipping. I've slipped in the shower. It's
Yeah.
fucking hard. Yeah.
Speaking of
One
dying
time I was
alone,
Yeah.
What?
Go.
I was going to tell
No,
a
you do
terrible
yours.
story.
I think yours will be better listening for the podcast.
One time I was
mine's not very light.
None of this podcast is. This is episode 2. They're getting to know us. I was in Morocco one time, and I was alone in a hostel, and I had taken I was walking to the shower with a towel, and it was like across the hallway. So I was like, I like ran into this bathroom, and the bathroom, the door like closes, and then you have the shower, toilet, and the sink all in the same room, right? So there's no like curtain separating like the shower from the other spot, so it's like a wet bathroom. And I walk in like kind of hurriedly, right, because I'm like running across the hallway in my towel by myself, and I closed the door. Somebody had like not rinsed off the shower floor, so it was soapy, and I slipped and I fell and hit my head back, like the whole, like it probably looked like a movie, and I landed completely on my back, and I just laid there naked, covered in somebody else's soapy water on a stone floor. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most painful thing a little 21-year-old Kara has ever been through.
Wow, I hate that
It
story.
was really painful. Yeah. Is that good listening for the podcast?
It's really good. Mine was going to be, speaking of dying alone, I do have quite a big normal rational fear of airplanes. And I always have trouble with Spirit Airlines. Who doesn't? And this past weekend, Mara and I were supposed to get on a flight to Minneapolis. It got canceled. And then I got onto my LA flight, and I was like, okay, Spirit, like, just do me a solid. Just like have nothing happen. Because something always happens. Either there's a delay, there's a cancellation. One time I was on the plane, and the Spirit plane just started making this crazy, like, rhythmic, loud printer noise that sounded like an engine was failing. I mean, obviously, that's not what an engine failing sounds like. I don't know what it sounds like.
So good.
Because the engine wasn't failing.
Theoretically.
Apparently it was the hydraulics, quote unquote, and nothing to worry about, but they didn't tell us that for 3 hours. So we were just like listening to this noise, being like, what the hell? And anyway, so I got on this plane from Detroit to LA. I was like, okay, Spirit, let's just keep it chill. Nothing needs to happen here. Let's have just like an uneventful flight that I can forget. Well, about 2 hours before we land, the man in the seat in front of me calls the service attendant button, and he talks to a flight attendant, and then she goes back and she says, is there a doctor or physician on board? This guy was like, he thought he thought he was going into cardiac arrest, and he was super sweaty, and he was like moaning, and he like wasn't totally always all there, and he had like the mask, but we couldn't land, and we were close enough to LA that they were like, his blood pressure was okay. So they were like, okay, we think maybe it's just heartburn or something, but like he wasn't doing well. And this has always been.
Was there a doctor on board?
There was actually, I don't know if she was a doctor or if she was a med student or a resident or an intern or what, but she because she was just so young, but she had on Michigan State sweatpants. And so, or Michigan University, I don't know which one's which. But she had those on. So she was there, and then there was a middle-aged woman, like a nurse. And so they were there talking to him. And it was actually very, I mean, this was what was great about it, is it was very comforting, and the people next to him were there. He was always surrounded by like 4 people. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, I've been so afraid of dying on an airplane for so long, but like at least you're like, if you die on an airplane and you're the only one dying on the airplane, at least like you are surrounded by people. Like you're not dying alone. Like I was like, if this guy dies, he had 5 very caring, attentive people around him the whole time, like comforting him, you know, and like guiding him wherever. So, you know, I don't know what the point of that was or what it has to do with Irrational Fears, but.
Well, I think it helped not resolve, but reduce your fear of planes. It sounds like.
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, then there's still the whole plummeting that you mentioned.
All right. So my number 1 fear.
I think I can guess this. Can we guess?
Okay.
Yeah. You're both going to get it right.
Oh, yeah. It's the fear of
the dots.
Tiny holes.
The little dots all together.
Yeah.
How do you explain it?
So this started when I was, I think, in Uganda, and they have a crap ton of ants there, just like freaking everywhere. Some of the ant hills are literally a whole story. Like they'll be like 30 feet tall. They're crazy.
What?
It's nuts. Like I'll find a picture and send it to you. It's crazy. Anyway, so they have ants everywhere, and ants will, you know, normally this is a thing that happens at like summer camp or whatever, but you have like somebody will throw something on the ground and all the ants will go at it. And just one day I was walking and there was probably like 5,000 ants in this one area. And it looked like a shadow or something almost, because it was so dark in that one spot. And it turns out that it was just a mass of moving ants. And I literally I started like hyperventilating. I was like, oh my God, freaking out. And then I think while we were living together, I think I was introduced to that fun fear of small dots. And I think it's the same thing. But it's called, I looked it up. It's called trypophobia, I think is how you say it. And it's the fear of a cluster of tiny holes. Trypophobia, yeah.
Sorry, say again what it's called and then explain it.
It's trypophobia, and it's fear of clusters of tiny holes. So if you see like a sunflower, and I don't have this, but like if you see a sunflower, for example, and you have all the like little sunflowers in one spot, like that will freak some people out. Or you have
it was like honeycomb or like wasp nest looking things that they put in floral arrangements.
Yeah, those will get me. The like deep holes. Yeah, those ones are big. I think it's like anyway, I hate it. And it makes my skin crawl. And recently we rewatched The Mummy, which is Marian's favorite movie. And the part where where he gets completely covered in bugs, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna freak out.
Hi. Just a note about ants, that if every ant was taken and dried up, it would weigh about 12 megatons, which is more than all of the world's birds and mammals taken together.
Why are we drying these ants out? Why is that a factor?
That's just...
And also, are the mammals being dried too, and we're weighing them, or is it like?
Oh, why are we drying them?
Yeah, why are we
drying them out?
No, why are we drying the ants in this scenario?
Here's an interesting thing.
Okay.
Are you saying okay to me?
I said okay to Mara, and then I said okay to you.
She said it twice.
I heard myself, and then you know when you replay something in your head, and you're like, God, I sounded stupid. That's what just happened. It's like
it's all the perspective of all of our listeners. But like thinking
Thank you for that. That really helps.
Yeah.
I think that maybe you don't have trypophobia, because when I just looked it up, it's like repetitive patterns like honeycomb or sponges, which I feel like you don't have the things that make sense. It's like when it's like, you know, like a massive swarm that's not so repetitive. You didn't even like this hand motion.
No, I looked it up.
Kara looked it up.
Here's
and
this
that
one.
was her face.
Yeah.
So yeah, it says schools of fish, flocks of birds, mobs of people, herds of animals, swarms of bugs, a bundle of snakes. Even
Swarms of
those
bugs.
ball pit playpens and balloons terrify me.
I don't have a thing about like animals. That's fine. Like, well, you know, when you have like a herd of buffalo or something moving, or like you have birds in the sky, that doesn't bug me. I have a subsect.
It doesn't bug you. Well, I mean, this person didn't know what it was called.
Okay. I think maybe they have multiple things, is what I'm guessing. I learned today that there's a fear of empty rooms.
Terrifying.
That's fair.
What?
I don't want to go in there. Why is no one in there?
But like, say it's a construction zone and they've like just finished a room. Like, some people are scared of that.
That's where other
Yeah,
demons
it's
live,
like
too.
there's nothing in there. It's like this. It's like this weird
Casting
liminal
demons
space.
everywhere.
It's a weird liminal space. That makes sense to
Yeah.
me. To be afraid of something that, you know, doesn't look right. That's like just this open. There's like nothing in there. I mean, it's very close to your open water issue.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I don't.
I mean, it's like the nothing that is surrounding you and the question of what's out there.
There's no, with my fear, there's no, my fear is like, say that something happened. One, it's like, okay, if I'm in the open ocean, one, I'm burnt as hell. Like, I'm super white. I'm definitely going to burn everything. And then I'm like stuck in the middle of the ocean.
Can you see that?
And then if I,
No, it's blurry.
You couldn't see the lamp?
no, I can't see it.
I'm going to take a picture.
For all you podcast listeners out there, Marion was trying to show us a lamp to try to trigger my fear. It didn't work.
Oh, so you could see it.
No, I'm assuming that's why you were doing it. Am I wrong? Miss, I'm going to
No.
put balloons all over Mara's floor.
Yeah.
Okay, let's,
but that one's probably fair because I gave her something to work up to talking about in therapy that I didn't realize until today.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
Sorry.
and you're just casting demons into other places now. God.
Let's start getting points to each other. -1 for Mara for giving me one of my irrational fears. -1 to Mara for listing one rational fear.
No.
No.
I just
Minus
want
one
to see
tomorrow.
what happen.
-1 to Mara for her only response to this being no.
No.
-1 to Marion for booing Mara.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Already out in the Eartha. In the Bertha?
In
It's
the
already
what?
out in the...
In the what?
It's already been put out there.
And the
-1.
ether.
Yeah.
In the ether.
Oh, there it is. The ether.
+1 to me
Yeah, that's
for
fair.
knowing what you meant.
+1 to both of you for knowing my biggest fear. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'm
sounds like
perfect,
I won.
Thank you. No. I took one away and I gave you one, so you're at 0.
And
Did
I
get-
gave you a lifelong irrational fear.
Okay, so I think Kara
So
and I
sorry.
then are tied. So for our tiebreaker, Mara, can you privately message Grayson what you think Tonks's most irrational fear is? And
Ooh.
Okay.
Kara and I will try to both say what we think Tonks's most irrational fear is.
I think we should both type it in at the same time.
That's
so
what I was
that
going to say.
can't-
We're going to type
Okay.
and then send at the same
But
time.
don't send because I don't have one yet. Hang on.
Yeah, we have to send at the same time.
We'll put in some elevated music here. It's going to be good.
Dear listener, this is Grayson, the producer and editor of My Top Everything. Tonks is Mara's satanic cat who suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. There is no known cure. To help Tonks and pets like her, donate to your local ASPCA. Now back to the show.
Did she do it? Did you do it?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Did you
All right,
text
ready?
Grayson?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, we're going to send it on 3. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
Marion wins.
for our listeners, Kara thinks that Tonks's most irrational fear is love. And Marianne thinks that her most irrational fear is that someone across the apartment is going to somehow touch her.
That feels right.
I said I wrote it from her perspective. My most irrational fear is that peasants will come to visit my maid and turn her against me.
I feel like mine's closer.
It is closer.
I agree. Yeah.
God, it's good to be back. Good to have my reign back. This is My Top Everything podcast. I am your winner and host, Marianne. These are your losers, Kara and Mara. Thanks for joining us. Tune in again next time when I once again win an argument, which is the only reason I do this podcast. Thanks. Good night. Good luck.
Bye.
What?
Bye. I found the sheet that I won 0 last year.
Nice.
It's in my journal that I did.
I don't remember that happening, actually.
You signed it. I made you sign it.